This is 911. State your emergency. Hello? I can't help you if I don't know where you're at, honey. Where are you at? Where are you? I need as many units as I can get for Fairfield Road. Give me the numbers.
911, what's your emergency?
Hey friends, it's Fletch. I'm Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. Welcome to this new podcast series, Off the Cuff, Confessions of an ENP. Brought to you by 911 Inform, delivering next-generation 911 services for the enterprise today and making every second count. In this series, we're going to be talking to ENPs that have been on the job for years, as well as those brand new ENPs that have just passed the test. We'll dig in and have an in-depth conversation and find out what the ENP certification means to them. We'll talk about why they did it, what it means for their career, and what they did to pass the exam. Industry certifications are important to industry professionals, and the ENP certification is one that's admired by many in public safety. So join me as we find out exactly what makes an ENP tick in this off-the-cuff podcast series, Confessions of an ENP. Hey everybody, welcome once again. It's Fletch, Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. Welcome to another episode of Off the Cuff, True Confessions of an ENP. So today we're sitting down with Tacy Bond, who is the 911 coordinator for Huron County, Ohio. The Emergency Management Agency, 911 agency up there. Welcome to the podcast, Tacy, and congratulations on your new ENP.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So how long have you been in the industry?
25 years this year. I'll hit my 25-year mark.
Good God, girl. Would you start when you were 5?
I wish.
Oh,
The gray hair will probably argue with that. You can't see it luckily in this recording, but I started at 20 years old. So yeah, I hit 45 this year and 5 years in this position, and I was a dispatcher for 20 years.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's a long time to fly the desk.
Yeah, and you definitely know you're ready to leave that desk when that 20 years comes up. I got to give it to these ladies that are there 25, 30 years. I was getting to that point where I was ready for a change.
So 20 years old, I mean, you got into 911 right away almost.
Yeah, and I actually was passed over for the position for about 2 years. I applied right at 18. My dad was a detective at the local police department, so I kind of grew up around it, know all the pitfalls of being, in a cop's family, but loved it and was used to, had the ear for it just from hearing him on the radio and all those years. But they had an opening when I was 18, right out of high school, applied, and being 18, they thought I was too young, too immature, all the things that I wasn't, grown up single child of a cop. You're more mature than most.
Yeah.
You have that wicked, inappropriate sense of humor that those in law enforcement have.
It's that dark cop humor, right? That's so inappropriate for the normal public, but it is totally appropriate within that family.
Yeah, it's definitely your coping mechanism, and you definitely have a different sense of how you view things.
You know what? And I don't know. I don't know if it's unhealthy. I think as long as it doesn't, I haven't really met anybody where it's changed their perspective to
Right.
make them an unacceptable person. It's a coping mechanism that they'd use to deal with all that.
Right.
So, whatever, to each his own. It takes all
Right.
kinds, I guess. So that's interesting. So you got passed over because you were viewed as being too young.
Yeah.
I started probably when I was 20 as well, but that was only because there wasn't an opening and I needed to make money doing some stuff. So I was doing a bunch of different things, pumping gas and all the normal kid stuff. But I was on the squad, on the ambulance squad in high school as a cadet to get out of class during the day because volunteer squad.
Right.
Was grab the kids out of high school. And I got to know all the dispatchers, and ultimately a position opened up. Mark Bond was leaving and said, "Hey, you're interested? We're hiring." And from there, that lasted about 5 years. Number one on the civil service test, but little small town department, unless somebody retired or died, you're not going anywhere fast.
Yeah, when I first started, the turnover rate was non-existent. Let's see, I started in 1997. Finally started, I think I was 20 years old when I started. And the two senior dispatchers ahead of me were there, I want to say 18, 19 years.
Yeah.
And the other one was like 14 or 15. And I worked 12 years straight afternoon shift because it was the most hated shift. I loved it because it was nuts back in the 90s,
Yep.
you know, full of action and interest. And then I didn't have, a family or kids or anything like that. So I worked that for straight afternoons for 12 years. And then finally, I think in about my, 16th year, 17th year, I finally got to move to day shift. So
Wow. So how big is the department? I mean, how many are on staff in the communication?
uh, communications was at Norwalk PD, where I was at for 20 years. We had 6 dispatchers, was full
Okay.
staff, community of about 17,000. And we had 23 full-time officers, and then, a few up in the DB that weren't counted as road patrol.
See, that gets me. How many calls a year did you do with 6
And as far as 911 calls, we were right around 4,000 911 calls a year. Calls for service, that was one stat they never really tracked. Obviously, nowadays they do a lot more. But I mean, we were busy, but it's always those ancillary duties of, calling to take court fines and, any little thing under the sun. Full-time secretary, 911 dispatcher, you were doing everything.
So when I started, 911 didn't exist yet in New Jersey. We did about 10,000 calls for service, 3 towns, the main town that we were in, and 2 little small towns. One was a square mile, and the other was, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 square miles. Two road units on that town, 1 unit on the little town. We had 5 units, sergeant and 4 patrol in my town, and I was the 6th person on a squad. 1 dispatcher for all of that, and we did 10,000 calls for service just in the big town because we really didn't count the ones in the other towns. So I don't know, maybe add 2,000-3,000 for that.
Right.
We did that with 1 person. And I hear today, now again, it's a lot more involved, a lot more resources, but I hear these big numbers, for populations that aren't much bigger than what I was doing.
Right. I know when we first started, we had the old, DOS screen with the black screen with the green ink showing you the 911 call, and now it's like you have all this technology, you have Rapid SOS, and just, your guide cards are all digitized, and it's insane now just thinking how far it's progressed. It's a blessing and a curse, I think, on both sides. So you wish you could go back to the old days where things were a little simpler.
So, I don't know about that. So I don't really know. I never worked the current model. I mean, everything that came in, we wrote down on a scrap piece of paper, and then I typed complaints when I get caught up, or later we entered them. We actually had computer cards that we would fill out by hand, and they would, I didn't have to type those, but those got punched in the time clock. And, radio logs we didn't really keep other than real what would be considered probably a 911 call type incident today. We didn't even log traffic stops unless they turned into something.
Right.
And I'm thinking, my God, I did that with no help. Maybe on a Friday night or Saturday night, one of the road units would come in and sit a little bit to help out, but I needed them out on the road if it was busy. So
Right.
it didn't really happen that often. And sergeants, they were sergeants, but they were patrol as well. They would get dispatched to anything just like anybody else would.
Yeah, it sounds
This
pretty similar.
is the last resource, but still, it's every time I talk to somebody today, the departments are so much more rounded out, and I just can't figure out why, really.
I think that just the technology is pushing us to have more resources available. I mean, I know, so in the current position we're in now, I oversee 4 dispatch centers. We have a virtual consolidation for the whole county. So we have 4 different PSAPs in 4 different communities, all under the Huron County blanket. serving 65,000 residents. For some reason, consolidation hasn't gotten that full push here yet. We know it's
That's
coming.
good, because you've got physical diversity in those multiple centers.
And our issue is it's not like the bigger cities like Cleveland, Toledo, where you could have 40 PSAPs in a 10-mile radius. We're separated by about a half hour each way.
Right.
Other than Huron County, right here where my office is, I'm directly behind the sheriff's office. We have another PSAP that's 2 miles down the road, which was my home department where I originally started. And then our other one is Bellevue, which is 20 minutes west of us, and then 20 minutes south of us, we have Willard. So you're
regionalized then for the most part.
Yeah, we have basically a virtual regionalization. So we share the same CAD, everything 911 and everything is housed here at the sheriff's office in their equipment room. But we're trying to streamline where everybody's kind of under the same umbrella as far as using the same equipment and everything.
Sure. Now, how many PSAPs are actually in the state of Ohio? Do you know?
Oh, God. I can't remember the last time I saw the number, but I know they're still trying to get it down.
Hundreds, 200s, 300?
I would say 400 probably, because you have 88 counties. So you figure even if you're at, 2, 3 per county, there's not a whole lot of regionalization. Once you get up by Cleveland, Cuyahoga County, they have some regional centers there where they've all consolidated. But it's hard when you have the small town politics.
Oh, tell me about it. So New Jersey is 21 counties, just 21 counties, and we have close to 300 PSAPs.
It makes it hard. It makes it hard. And I understand, coming from a small department, I get the arguments against it. They like that
rule. It's a home rule thing.
They love that individualized service that you get. So when you walk in my home department, there's a dispatcher sitting there at the window. There's a records clerk across the hall, and you have that one-on-one. Hey, I need to make a report. You're not coming in and picking up a phone and just getting somebody on the phone. So I get it, and it's unfortunately it's a power struggle between entities, and we know how that goes. But
oh yeah, no. And when somebody does walk in to complain, my neighbor's throwing garbage on my property, you can say, "Listen, Dave, you were in here last week. I told you what to do about it." Right? It's like
that's a lot of it.
There's a hell of a wreck. Where? Station Road or Station Hill. Okay. Well, there hadn't been a train station there in freaking 60 years.
Right.
I knew where Station Hill was because
100%.
Everybody else did. So that's always the classic example. Oh, you can't consolidate.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying, well, okay, it's valuable for the dispatcher to understand that. There is value there.
Oh, yeah.
If you didn't have it, how much are you really impacting the dispatch? Because your units are still local.
Right.
There's an argument to and against.
Yeah, you can go each way. You can have arguments until you're blue in the face about it. And I think with what we're seeing with the staffing crisis right now, I think you're going to get pushed to regionalization and consolidation because, between our 4 PSAPs, I think we're right around 25 dispatchers. If I had one center and 25 dispatchers at that center, we could probably get people the time off that they need.
Oh, yeah.
That they're not getting at their current sites because, we have one agency that has 9 dispatchers, but they're working 12-hour shifts because they're short.
Yep.
Due to people being off for benefit time, sick time, maternity leave, whatever it may be. And then just being short-staffed. It used to be you'd give a test for dispatch. You'd have 70, 80 applicants for our small area. Now we're lucky if you get 10, 15.
Wow.
Then once you do the background checks, you might have 3 that might be good candidates.
Right.
So
it's difficult. 3 that are possible candidates.
Yes. It's crazy, but I think what hurts Ohio too is we don't have, for police officers, you have OPATA, the police academy. So you have people who enroll in that knowing they want to be a police officer. Mm-hmm. You don't have a school saying, hey, I want to go be a dispatcher. So we work with our vocational schools. We're trying to get some adult programs to where they come out APCO certified and in PST and EMD to see if we can get a bigger pool of candidates to draw from for applications. So
are you reaching out into just more generalized public programs to score more interest? What are you doing on that?
Yeah, we're trying to. So we're reaching out right now to one of the vocational schools that's going to institute an adult education program. Right now, their high school program, they have dispatch certification already included. So when you graduate high school, you come out with APCO, PST, Public Safety Dispatcher, and EMD
Okay.
certification. So
Wow.
when they come out at 18, which is great, but a lot of them who are going into the law enforcement studies, they want to be a police officer. So then you might have them for 2, 3 years before they hit 21 or
Yep.
whatever the age requirement may be at that time. So we're trying to reach out. I know we have a couple dispatchers that came from call centers, and we found that they're good because in reality, dispatching is customer service. You
Yes.
know,
Yes. Not if you ask the public.
no, and based off of my phone calls today, you're never going to please everybody. So today's been a rough one for us.
It's funny because waitresses I hear make excellent dispatchers as well
Well,
because
yeah,
they know how to deal with complaints. They know how to deal with unreasonable requests. They know how to deal with
multitasking
the unsatisfiable customer, right?
and just multitasking.
And multitasking.
Being able to hear 2, 3 conversations at the same time and know which one goes with what. Which is a skill that most Type A anal retentive dispatchers have, which is kind of where we fit. I can admit it. I'm Type A, super anal, detail oriented, and that's kind of what you need to be.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I had one night on the desk where I just, again, 3 towns, and because um, of just everything, you know, shit hitting the fan all at once, and multiple calls, I had the local squads crossing borders to get something to where I needed them to go. And in the middle of it, things changed, and I had to kind of reshuffle the Ouija board, and I'm
Mhm.
on 3 different frequencies all at once, and I'm going bang, 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 bang. And I hadn't realized that somebody had walked in to the front desk area and is just watching me. And I'm like, whew, I got that all squared away. And I looked up and they were there and they were like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, wow, that was pretty cool. And I remember that like it was yesterday. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I live for that kind of stuff.
chaos coordinator. You
Because
know what I mean?
I was good at it. And I just like did the magic trick, right?
I think that's what people don't realize is I think a lot of times you still have that misconception of, oh, you just answer the phone, which I know when you tell that to a dispatcher, they about lose their mind. You know what I mean? Because you'll have the time where somebody will come in for a sit in or a ride along and it'll be dead, but they're not there on the day when you have, I think one of my favorites back in the day, I had a squirrel go into a substation, a power substation, blew up the whole substation. 300 911 calls in the span of an hour.
Oh my God.
So I'm just getting it handed to me, right? But it's like little things like that. You have no idea how crazy it is. Just a general storm in our area. A small community. We don't have the high crime, thank God. But a bad storm here can blow up your phones for hours. Because people call you because they need answers and they think you're going to give it to them.
Wow. Wow. So I got to ask you, what's with the name? Did your mom not like you, or did she forget a letter on the birth certificate? What's up?
She
It's
she
not
thought she'd make
it's not Stacy. It's Tacy.
she thought she'd make my life miserable with people thinking I don't know how to spell my own name, I guess. So, yeah, I get that all the time. The only benefit to it is when robocallers call or telemarketers, if they say Stacy or Tracy, I know I can hang up right away.
There you go.
She
Well,
just liked the sound of it, so
that's cool. No, I'm very much into names, and I can honestly tell you that I'm probably one of many that have never seen or heard the name Tacy.
I think, well, my maiden name was McDonough, so what she really liked was my middle name was Tacy Drake McDonough. So when she was mad at me, I would get the full 3 name, Tacy Drake McDonough, and she would just yell at me, and I knew I was in for it.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, I got the Mark James Fletcher many, many times.
If they throw that middle name, you're done.
Absolutely. So we know why you got into 911. Girl, why did it take you 25 years to go get your EMP?
Oh God. I think for us, I know small community, like I said, there's no room for advancement for dispatchers, which I think is a disservice to the dispatchers that are there. We didn't have a lead dispatcher. We didn't have a dispatch supervisor. Our supervisor was a patrolman. And as you know, most
Oh,
patrolmen have never sat in dispatch, don't have a clue what they're doing, but that's how the hierarchy goes. So we never really had that room for advancement. So yeah, I was the one that, you got a lot of work. Guys would come to you because you've been there the longest, you knew what you were doing. Never really heard of the ENP until I got this position, which was I started in January of 18 as the 911 coordinator. And one of the prerequisites was, preferred ENP. And I thought, oh
Oh,
yeah, I
excellent.
get it.
Oh,
So that was one of the preferences. Of course, obviously, I didn't have it. So I got the job in 2018, and I was like, I'm going to start trying to look into taking that because obviously that shows the initiative of, hey, I get that you want this, and I'm going to do it. Started researching it, signed up for a couple study groups, started doing it, and then just got busy doing projects. One of the nice things about being in the position was as a dispatcher, you'd see things that you'd like to see changed or see technology changes, and you wanted to do things, but you never had a say, nor the money to do, being a small community. But luckily, back in 2019, we passed a levy for 911 and emergency services, worked our tails off to get that passed, and luckily the voters and the residents saw the need and voted for it. So we started doing a lot of projects. We just finished, or we're almost completed with a $4 million radio infrastructure project, just updated our 911 software technology, updated our servers. So just got so busy with doing work that I pushed that study guide aside because it's like, I don't have time for this.
right.
So 3 years go by. I'm like, all right, I'm almost wrapping up these projects. Time to start getting back into where I can do that. Tracy Eldridge, I saw where she was doing her study guide and her study group, signed up for that, started participating. Then they offered the scholarship, took that, and then I found out I had gotten awarded one of the scholarships to take.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, that was great. It was wonderful to receive that news, but yet terrifying at the same time.
Because now you got to do it. Now you got to do it.
The phone call when the dispatcher gets called by the chief and says, hey, can you come up to my office?
Yeah.
That feeling you get?
Yes.
That's the feeling I got as soon as Tracy's like, hey, you got the scholarship. I was like, oh, no. But then I was like,
the
oh,
only
my
thing
God.
worse than that was what I experienced where the chief came out to the front desk, lit up a cigarette, and says, I need to see you, and then walked out.
We all know the sound that our body part makes during that guttural, oh, no.
Yeah.
So I had gotten that, and I was like, oh, my God, now what happens if I bomb this test? Because I've heard from many people that it's very difficult. And
80%. It's an 80% pass rate.
They're true, 100% true. I thought I flunked it when I took it. And I did I think it was a 14-week study group, went through the book multiple times, went online, took practice tests. So I actually put forth the time and studied. And like I said, I've been doing it 20 years. So, Of course, a word of advice to those out there that are going to be taking it. The stuff I studied didn't end up being the big part on the test. Let's put it that way. I thought for sure it would be all the next gen, the ECRGs, the ERCPs, all the different acronyms and everything. I thought, oh, it's going to be all this stuff, all the technology of the new next gen 911. So I really focused in on that stuff. So I understood the whole border control functions and all that good stuff. And then here, my test that I got was mostly HR and organization and management. And I'm like, which being that I'm over 4 PSAPs, I'm over the 911 side of things. So each of those PSAPs are ran individually by their sheriff or their police chief. So I don't have a whole big saying on the HR side. So of course I skimmed through all that stuff, going through the stuff. I'm like, I'll be able to do all right. And long story short, I passed, but I felt half nauseous when I hit that button to complete the test. And it said, you'll get your results shortly. And I was like, oh my God, I think I bombed that test.
So were you happy with your overall score when you got it finally?
Yeah, when I got it, I ended up doing a lot better than I had felt like I did. There were several questions. You go through and you think, okay, I don't know this one. So we're going to go process of elimination. Oh, got it narrowed down to these two. Well, these two were similar. And you're like, God, it could be either one, from my perspective. But yeah, I ended up doing decent on it. I was happy when the score breakdown came through, and I was like, okay, I didn't just skim by the skin of my teeth. I did okay.
I always tell everybody, look, somewhere out there is the next to worst doctor. The worst doctor didn't pass. This guy just barely passed by a point, right?
Right.
Or here's the next to last good dentist, right?
Oh,
Look, bottom line, the line has to exist somewhere. And if you pass, then you pass. And if you don't,
yeah. I don't think I want to be known as the safe auto ENP, the bare minimum. So
oh, that's good. That's good. Hey, I
Yeah.
almost get it right most of the time.
Oh God. It was interesting though, because there's a lot of things on there, like I said, that I was like, man, but it was a learning experience. Would I want to sit down and take the test again? Probably not. So now I got to focus on getting my points to recertify. But we don't, yeah, I think that's another part that's a disservice to dispatchers too. There's not a lot of training money for dispatch,
Yeah,
because I get it. Police departments have, 20, 30 guys, they got to get through all their stuff. But so I've really tried to focus on getting all our dispatchers in the county as much as they can. We're NINA members. I buy that for all of them. APCO members. We
good.
do training our 911 heroes, police legal science. So I sign them up for. I think we're signed up for 4 or 5 different ones to try to give them all the opportunities, and then we try to host a couple trainings here and there and send them out whenever we can. But it's going to be interesting to try to get my 24 points I need over the next 4 years, because
Uh,
I don't go to very many trainings. So maybe 1 a year, 2 a year. So
so, if you have a suggestion on something that should be accounted for points, submit that to the NIB because we've gotten requests in, hey, this is what I do, and this is the value that it brings, and I think it should be worth something. And then we'll sit down at one of the NIB meetings and we'll go, oh, well, gee, Tacy Bond says that this is what she does to support the ENP program, and she feels that it's worth some level of points. And we'll go,
Mhm.
she's crazy. Or we'll go, no,
Right.
you know what, that's a good point. And we'll establish some ground rules and you'll see little things get added.
Yeah.
When and where they make sense. We had to, when conferences weren't happening for 2 years, we had to make some adjustments. So we added a few extra things that you could do, and we extended the collection window, if you will, by
Hmm.
an extra year, right? So you could still hold on to your EMP status, but you had an extra year to accumulate the points.
Right.
So, the NIB is out there to support the dispatchers and, making it available to dispatchers, telecommunicators, whatever you want to call them today. To me,
Right.
I'm old school. I always call them dispatchers.
Me too.
No disrespect to that at all. Um, but, again, it's the certification is there for emergency number professionals, and that includes everybody. People in the private sector, they say, well, I don't have the law enforcement career. I'm like, do you manage the 911 calling of your local PBX in your 10,000 person campus? Yes, I do. Well, that counts.
Hmm.
It does? Yeah, it counts. You're,
Yeah.
you're part of the 911 ecosystem. Without that, the 911 call doesn't happen.
Well,
So,
look at the ecosystem now is all encompassing. I mean, think about it. Things back in the day when, like you said, when you started, what was it? A phone call and a radio.
That
Really?
was, and by the way, that was my training. When this line rings, you answer it and you push this button to talk to the guys in the police.
Oh, I think we've all been through some trainings like that.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
My training consists of push this button, push that button, and every top of the hour it's KZR 693. Okay.
Yeah. I think nowadays, I know that's one of the complaints for the dispatchers is there's so much technology. We're logging into this, we're logging into that. And of course, all the logins can't be the same across the board. It'd be nice if we had some technology to log into one and it logs you into all 5 that you're getting into. But it's like whenever I go over there, I'll never forget. We all know people hate change, you know. So in 2018, we did a dispatch upgrade at the sheriff's office, and I brought in 49-inch curved monitors. You would have thought I completely turned dispatch upside down.
Are you serious?
Oh my goodness, they lost their minds. But then a week later, they were like, "Oh, we love these." I'm like, "Oh my guess you just give them a chance, guys." You get tired of having 6 monitors with the seams in between, where
Yeah,
whenever you
yeah.
pop up a Mox. So I'm like, we go shopping for equipment. We see these 49-inch monitors, and they're just monstrous. We get 2 of them, double stack them on top of each other.
Oh, I know. I got 2 at my desk at home.
They're amazing,
When you can go buy that stuff for less than $400 on sale,
right?
you damn right I'm going to put that in front of me.
Yeah, I put those in dispatch, and now they love them. So we put them in every single dispatch center, but it's just funny because whenever you get new top technology, it's like I think for 6 months they hated me because we were, like I said, we were in the middle of so many projects that it's just And it's like, hey guys, I know, but we're trying to get to where things are better. We're trying to get a better radio system. We're trying to move.
Yeah, the coolest thing about that is you've got one seam, either side by side or top or bottom, to deal
Right.
with, and you can line your content up, whatever. You put 6 monitors up, you got seams all over the place,
Oh yeah.
and on a map, it's like,
Right.
so
Yeah.
it solves your multiple keyboard, multiple mouse problem. I mean, it's just people get stuck in their ways, and change is difficult, but
Yeah. Definitely.
whatever. But what's
Usually
your
it's for the better.
Usually, what's your advice to a brand new EMP or someone who's thinking about taking EMP and wondering if they should take the plunge because they heard the horror stories?
I think it's definitely worth taking it. I mean, yeah, it's scary, but anything worth doing usually is. The biggest thing is you now have a built-in network of people you can reach out to for help. I mean, just even going to conferences. I don't know how many times I've been to a NINA conference where I've met somebody and like, hey, and we've shared ideas or, stole something from them that they were doing. They stole something from us. So I think the EMP
Borrowed. We
borrowed,
don't
yes,
steal.
borrowed, yes, yes. Yeah, definitely plagiarized with permission, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I think it's definitely worth it. It is scary, it is difficult, but as long as you put the time in and study, I think you'll be all right. I mean, like I said, I probably studied for, I'd say, good 3 months, on and off in between. When I had slow times here at the office, I'd bust out my book or I'd participate in the weekly calls with Tracy. Then I went back and watched them on demand, like 2 weeks before I took the test, just to kind of go over things again. But yeah,
And
that built-in network of
you
having
can't, you
people to
can't beat
bounce
the
ideas.
price of the online training.
No, definitely not.
It's free.
And then having the opportunity to take the test for free, with Rapid SOS and NGEA 911 and um, resource God, consultants. So they and then Tracy, on scene first was Tracy. So that was nice, having that kind of incentive to take the test and to push you and be like, you can't back out because you really got to push forward. But it's great. I mean, I've met a ton of people. We've brought people in from training that we've met at conferences, and I just think the networking and having that sounding board of people who've been there longer than you, or have done it more than you. I mean, there's people who are EMPs that have been only in a job 5-6 years, but they might know more on the technical side of things than I do.
Yep.
Being a frontline dispatcher, that's one thing with this job. I was like, I feel confident that I could do the job, but it's like, the technology side, that's been a trial by fire for the last 3 years, but I've learned a lot. Still have a lot more to go.
And it's constantly changing, right? You got to stay up on top of it. And that's the reason for the recertification,
Mhm.
and the reason for the points. Look, if you can show the points, you get points for stuff that's going to keep you current in the industry. And
Right.
if you can collect enough points, then you don't have to go sit for the test again. It's
Right.
implied. You're challenging the test. You're not going to, if you don't have those, you're not going to get those points without knowing what you need to know.
Yeah, it just shows that you're continuing your forward progress, by taking those classes, going to different conferences, pushing yourself to learn more. Because,
Yeah.
like you said, it's constantly evolving. I mean, from what I started at 20 years, good Lord, it's
Oh, yeah.
100 times different of what we used to do.
So how long has it been since you actually got your ENP?
So I took the test in April. I think it was April 6th, I think. So I actually just got awarded my notification last week, 2 weeks ago.
So you haven't gotten your gift box yet?
Oh, no, I got it. Yep.
Oh, you did?
So
Okay.
there is my
Oh, yeah, there it
certificate.
is.
I got my little pin on right here.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, wow,
Oh,
what's in there? But that's a nice package, right? They just
Yeah, it is very
that's all
nice.
brand new. That they worked. I'm going to say they worked for 6 to 8 months on the contents of that box and the box and everything that goes in it to
Yeah,
make
you got
sure we have a
the
nice presentation.
fancy pin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I felt very welcome when I got my box. I was actually excited when I got it and opened it up and, to see your certificate and see that expiration date of April 2026.
There you go. Start collecting your points now.
I,
Don't wait till January 2026.
believe me, I've started doing webinars now because I'm like, okay, that's a half a point every webinar that I do. So,
Everyone counts.
yep.
So I'm gonna try and lobby for off the cuff podcast participants get a half a point.
I like that. I'm good with that.
Yeah, good deal. Well, listen, Tacy, it was a pleasure sitting down talking with you. Thanks for all you do for the industry. Thanks for all you've done for the industry. It's really one of the biggest joys I get out of this job and doing all the interviews is just getting to talk to all the ENPs out there and hearing all the wonderful, wonderful stories of, industry commitment. And, hopefully we'll have you back one day.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot.
No problem. All right. Well, you have a great day. Enjoy. And thanks again for doing what you do.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Good deal. That was very good.
Sound all right?
Sounded beautiful.
Good.
I like the ones where I don't have to edit anything because then I go chop, chop, done.
Done. Makes your life easier, right?
Yep. Good job. So, all right. Well, keep up the good work. Stay in touch. And
all right.
Are you going to be at National this year?
I will be. I'll be down there with one of our local dispatchers and bringing her down with me.
Okay, great. Well, stop. I don't know what booth we're in, but 911 Inform is my company. But
Yeah.
we put in all the additional data in through the Rapid SOS portal.
Mm-hmm.
Building information, floor plans, video cameras. We give the ability for officers to open locked doors remotely. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I think we just added your 911 Inform to one of our businesses.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which one was it?
I think it was AAA.
Oh, yeah, AAA. That's one of our big national accounts.
Yeah, AAA.
Laura Health was another one. It's one of these ones that's got dock in the boxes all over. It's like 200 locations.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. It's if you have any input on that, let me know.
Will do.
You've got a express line pass to come in.
All right.
We're really interested to hear the value that brings. So.
Yeah, so far we haven't had any instances of using it, but I'm sure But it's now it's enabled in our system, so it's now available. So
I mean, here's the thing. I worked on Kerry's Law, right? I brought that out, and now you got Ray Baum's Act. Unfortunately, business telephone systems phone calls are dying as people start moving to cell phones, right? That's 85-90% of the traffic. But still, you look at Kerry Hunt's situation, that was a 911 call. There was another one in Texas, again from a motel. 911 didn't work. Now, unfortunately, on that one, it was a baby death on a crackhead mother. The baby was already dead, so nothing would have saved. But you don't know that, right?
Right.
They tried to call 911 and couldn't. Their cell phones were dead. They had to run across the parking lot to the front office. And that turned into a domestic situation, to assault information, because nobody understood what was happening. And you got a frightened mother. She went behind the desk, grabbed the phone, turned into an assault. And the reason 911 got called was to report an assault.
The assault.
Not the baby.
Right.
So, okay. So in that one, the baby was already dead. Okay. Maybe, who's to say the baby would have been? Right. So, whatever. But that's cool. That's great. I'm glad to hear that we're running into this. So you guys had to do the 911 Inform service? Yeah,
I had to go in and enable it and then authorize all my users as agents and so we did that. I got an email from somebody. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but I have it in my folder for my Rapid SOS contact. But so we just enabled that probably I'd say last month. So I got an email that they were adding that for AAA.
Because I did the voiceover on all our training videos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is just kind of, you're that guy. I'm like, yeah, that guy. So, all right, well, cool. Well, thanks, Tacy.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, have a great day.
All right, you too. Have a good one.
I'll see you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Well, that wraps up this episode of Off the Cuff, Confessions of an ENP. I'm Mark Fletcher, ENP, and I'm the Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. Off the Cuff is sponsored by 911 Inform, delivering next-generation 911 solutions to the enterprise today and making every second count. Visit them on the web at 911inform.com. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter at Fletch911. Check out all my blogs and podcasts at Fletch.tv. And be sure to like and subscribe below. That way you'll be immediately notified whenever a new podcast is published. Thanks so much for listening. If you're in public safety, thanks for what you do. Take care and have a great day.